Welcome to the only guide you'll ever need for Deadlock's latest game mode, Street Brawl. I'm your host Jackie and you're watching Dead Air. Over the course of today's video, I aim to teach you all the tips and tricks you'll need to know about the mode, alongside showing off the differences with the enhanced items and explaining how every legendary item that is available in Street Brawl works. So sit back, relax, subscribe, and get ready for a journey through the streets of the Cursed Apple. Firstly, if you're wondering what is Street Brawl, then let's get you up to speed. Street Brawl is the latest game mode that has been added to Deadlock, Valve's upcoming MOBA that's currently in development. You're able to get access to the game if you ask for an invite, but it seems like with this major update that added Street Brawl, maybe we're getting closer to an open beta than we've ever been before. The game is fast, exciting, and particularly explosive, so let's get into the details of the mode and break down the brawl. In my eyes, Street Brawl is the best way to get back into Deadlock if you haven't played the game in a while. But there's a lot of intricacies to it, some things that Deadlock won't even tell you. Like, did you know that healing effectiveness is massively reduced in Street Brawl? Unlike regular Deadlock, healing regeneration for items and abilities are reduced by 40% across the board, meaning you'll only get 60% of their overall effectiveness. There are even some exceptions to this though, like the Cube on Viscous and Blasted on Billy, alongside Healing Right, Rescue Beam, Healing Nova, and Radiant Regeneration also not being effective by this reduction of healing. Pulling it back a bit to the basics of the mode though, let's talk about the format. Street Brawl is a best of 5, meaning you'll progress through up to 5 rounds at maximum if you're able to tie the game back up. You can go down by 2 rounds at most before you'll lose the game. Hell, you can always bring it back in Street Brawl though, so don't ever count yourself out. The first 2 rounds of Street Brawl you'll need to take down the enemy team's Guardian. After that, on match point, you'll have to destroy their Walker to win the game. A common misconception I've seen with Street Brawl is players being confused because there's no reward of souls from killing troopers, believing that you don't necessarily need to push the wave to win games, instead focusing only on team fights and trying to go for kills. However, this is counterintuitive to the true way that you win games of Street Brawl. You win by pushing the wave, making sure that as soon as you get into lane, you focus your initial damage and ability usage on taking out the wave. That macro alone will go a long way in pushing you to not only winning rounds, but winning games. On top of this, you can always come back in games of Street Brawl, and that isn't hyperbole. Even if you go down 0-2 in the first opening moments of a game and you haven't really had the best item rolls, this can turn around off the back of one item. The round progression of Street Brawl really feels like it has a bit of a comeback mechanic inherently, with rarer items of higher tiers and also enhanced and legendary items being available in the pool later into the game, becoming more common as the game goes on. On top of that, respawn timers will also be a bit more drastic in the late game, after the 3-minute mark when overtime kicks in. If a round of Street Brawl goes into OT, you'll know about it. You'll hear that classic jingle that plays, signifying that you've elapsed past the 3-minute mark and troopers are now stronger, having increased health. This will allow you to push waves easier, meaning that you should be able to finally mount an offensive to destroy the enemy team's objective. However, overtime will also introduce far larger respawn timers for you and the enemy team. So the best thing you can do is die before that 3-minute mark if you're low HP. Dying after 3 minutes elapses could result in upwards of 70 seconds of downtime where you're not in the game. This can be incredibly punishing and allow the other team to turn the game around. Additionally, here's a few tips and tricks that Street Brawl will never tell you, but you should probably know about. Like, did you know the first round of every game of Street Brawl will have 2 sets of troopers on the first wave? This means when you arrive in lane, the troopers will already be fighting during round 1. So if you get to lane early, you want to immediately destroy the enemy team's troopers to give yourself the best chance at shoving the wave with additional troops on your side. One of the ways you can maximize this advantage even further is by dismounting the zipline early. When you pass this bridge on either base, just behind the base guardians, you'll be able to jump off the zipline and then jump back on it. For some reason in Street Brawl, this will actually make you go drastically further ahead than the rest of your teammates, meaning that if you do this and the enemy team isn't aware, you can get there about a second or two ahead of them, dealing a lot of damage to the wave and potentially progressing slightly further ahead in that opening round. It's useful in later rounds of the game too, but by and large at its best during round 1. Additionally, unlike regular Deadlock, you cannot shoot the troopers off of the zip lines early by shooting them when they're on their canisters, so don't waste your ammo. Next then, let's talk a little bit more about itemization. Let's go with the flow. This is an important part of Street Brawl that I feel like a lot of players miss the mark on, feeling like they're shoehorned or potentially want to follow their usual build, or perhaps have a build in mind when the game begins but never quite get the pieces to complete it. Street Brawl, you have to be dynamic. If you're being offered a gun-related build, maybe just go with it. If you're getting all ult items on 7, you should really lean into that. One of the best things you can do is just kind of build around what you're offered. Use that knowledge you have from regular Deadlock builds, but don't feel like you have to be too strict or follow a classic flow every time. It's a bit of a roguelike in the way it's designed and will encourage you to choose off-meta items, especially if any of them are given enhancements or, in fact, a legendary item. You'll need to think on your toes and switch up your builds on a case-by-case basis. You can still counter your opponents and should lean into that. Support-heavy items are fantastic in Street Brawl. If you've got slots, you might as well spend them. Picking up active items can be incredibly powerful, especially if they're countering someone that's doing a ton of damage. If there's a lash on the enemy team that doesn't have unstoppable, if they haven't got lucky with their rolls and they're flinging you into the floor every day, make sure you pick up knockdown, as that'll be one way to save your bacon. Alongside that, make sure you don't forget to eat your greens. By this, I mean take green items. If you're offered resistance, bullet resist, spirit resist, extra HP, sustainability goes so far in Street Brawl. Due to that HP and healing reduction I was talking about back at the beginning, effectively this 60% ruling that's going to come in and make it far harder for certain players to have the additional HP regen they'd be used to in normal Deadlock, you can get the upper hand by building tanky. Say you're playing Warden and you suddenly need to pivot on a game where you've got a few spirit items but the rolls aren't that great. If it starts giving you green items, stack those resistances. You'll quickly realize just how sustainable you become. So make sure you're picking up those green items and looking to maximize your potential for additional HP or even barriers. Barriers, as powerful as they are in normal Deadlock, really feel like their mileage in Street Brawl is even better. If you get an enhanced divine barrier, make sure you pick that bad boy up in a heartbeat. Especially on squishier characters like Haze, making sure that you maximize your green potential is a key way to increase your likelihood of winning games of Street Brawl. But what if all the items you've been offered are absolutely terrible? Well, use your rerolls. Rerolling is a key mechanic of Street Brawl. Unlike in other games where you could stack rerolls or only get them on a loss, Brawl is incredibly generous, giving you one free reroll per round, meaning that's 5 at maximum to play with over the course of a game. So, each round, weigh up your options. When you're dealt the worst free items that you decide aren't good for your character, that's the point you should re-roll. Of course, there's an expansive list of items available in Street Brawl, so make sure you make it count. Next then, let's go a little bit deeper in terms of enhanced items. Every single item that's available in Deadlock, including Legendaries, can roll as an enhanced item. Some of them are incredibly powerful, like Rapid Recharge. Rapid Recharge gets 4 bonus ability charges. Hell, even Trophy Collector turns into an imbalanced item, allowing you to have 99 stacks. You want to make sure you weigh up your options if you're offered an enhanced item. Don't just skip it, don't just go for the rare that's a higher tier. Enhanced items are drastically overpowered and are worth your time and investment. If you get one, at least mouse over it and weigh it up. Next then, let's discuss the elusive legendary items. These have a higher and higher chance of spawning in as you progress throughout a game of Deadlock. Let's get into them and break them down one by one. Up first, seraphim wings. Identified by the butterflies and golden sparkles that will be applied to your character, you effectively gain the ability of flight, with 120% stamina recovery and minus 70% gravity. On top of that, you can get a very jazzy item like mystical piano. This is basically knockdown on steroids, musical steroids. It has some amazing sound effects and effectively no range cap. You can throw it from one side of the lane to the other. You could also get yourself an item like nullification burst. This is incredibly useful if you not only want 300 bonus HP, but also the ability to purge any positive buffs from enemies around you in a circle AoE. Celestial Blessing is easy to identify because the entire map turns green. This is a global purge, a cleanse that will replenish your allies globally, giving them a 50% heal, 100% of their stamina recovery back, and a bonus plus 5 meters move speed for a temporary period of 6 seconds. Do not sleep on Eternal Gift. This item will periodically give you a random permanent stat buff, a golden boon, over a 2-second frequency. That adds up massively. Additionally, it also slashes your next respawn by 70%. Mystic Conduit is another amazing item. You can see the difference on Warden's ultimate with a flat 40% ability range scaling. It also gives you ability cooldown reduction and heals your allies on damage dealt. It's a hell of an item. Next, you have Haunting Shot. This makes your bullets bigger and allows them to penetrate through multiple targets. You could fire a bullet through the entire team. It'll bang through them all and deal damage to everyone it hits. It's going to also massively deal bonus spirit damage, and it's only got a 2.5 second cooldown between procs, so you can get it off a lot. Cloak of Opportunity is basically reactive barrier times a million. If you're hit with any kind of on-proc effects like movement lock, stun, chain, immobilize, or sleep, this will turn you unstoppable, give you a barrier and extra move speed, and it can proc every 14 seconds. Whereas runed gauntlets are the Commando Pro of the Deadlock world. They allow you to get drastically increased melee distance, up by 130%. On top of that, you can pierce through parries, so you'll actually obliterate someone that dares to parry in front of you. Electric slippers are self-explanatory, but they are incredibly fun. It'll give you +2 stamina, plus 80% slide distance, and a passive that allows you to evade bullets and gain rate of fire, alongside dealing damage to enemies around you just by sliding. This is a hell of an item, an incredibly fun one. Infinite Rounds does what it says on the tin. It'll give you unlimited ammunition. On top of this, you can pierce through opponents alongside having 200% bullet velocity and 30% fire rate. Omnicharge Signet, on the other hand, is a beast of an item if you are a hero with multiple charges of an ability. This bad boy is going to give you +70% faster time between charges, +30% cooldown reduction for charged abilities, alongside a flat +50 bonus spirit power for any charged abilities you have. You can imbue it onto any one of your abilities and it will make them go sicko mode. You can see with Wraith, if you're lucky enough to get 2 items, Omnicharge Signet and an enhanced version of the multiple charges, you'll have an unbelievable amount of cards to throw out. Prism Blast is Valve's answer to what would happen if we took not only one Bebop ultimate, but several, and gave them on a hero that also has an innate version of E-Shift. Well, that's Prism Blast. You'll float in midair, taking no damage and being untargetable, whilst releasing multiple pulses of Bebop beams of death. All that, and it's only on a 40-second cooldown. On top of that, you could get yourself Unstable Concoction. Now, if you enjoy playing Infernus and like his ultimate, this is basically his ultimate if it killed you and everyone around you in one foul swoop. After a build-up time, it'll detonate, dealing a flat 30% of your max HP as damage on top of a whole lot more. It effectively just blows up everyone in a nearby AoE, but it does kill you instantly. Known in the game files as Shiva's Bracelet, one for the Dota fans, Frostbite Charm is an incredible bit of kit, a legendary item that can be imbued onto your abilities, so that you can throw them out with increased spirit power alongside having 50% reduced cooldown and freezing the opponent. Shadow Strike, however, gives you an additional +2 stamina with a trick up its sleeve, being that you'll go invisible on stamina use, with no detection range. Dealing a melee attack whilst invisible causes you to steal bullet and spirit resistance from your opponent and deal damage over a period of time. This is 76 damage that ticks up with spirit. And finally, there's Shrink Ray. Shrink Ray has a 30-second cooldown. It's an active item that will reduce your model size by 50% and grant you increased move speed, also allowing access to the underground tunnel system that now runs throughout the Cursed Apple map, added in the Old Gods New Blood update. You can cast it on your allies as well. Hell of an item that, and definitely fun to use. Not all legendary items are created equally, and obviously some are far better than others, but it depends on what you're building. As a rule of thumb though, if you are offered a legendary item, it's probably worth picking it up, as most of them are incredibly overpowered, with either the flat stat bonuses they give you or the on-proc effects they have. Lastly then, I want to talk about hero choices, as they do matter. Now, you can play anyone you want in Street Brawl. It just follows that standard Deadlock system of choose 3 heroes and then hope for the best that you get the one you want. However, I think it's enjoyed at its finest if you either choose random and let the game just take you on a spin, or curate your team with a full stack. Multiple heroes inside of Street Brawl are incredibly proficient at winning the game. So let's run through my top picks. I'd say Victor is certainly up there. Of course, as you'll know from regular games of Deadlock, Victor is unstoppable. If he hits around the 30k soul mark, he's got those 2 respawns to play with. Once he's got his build up and running, it is so oppressive to take him down. Much like his bio says, you can't kill him. However, in Street Brawl, this goes the extra mile due to how much mileage you're getting out of that Resurrection ultimate. Killing a man in Street Brawl and him instantly coming back to life could be the difference of you losing a round or actually pushing on to win the entire damn game. So if you get a Victor that gets lucky on his rolls and gets some great builds with hell, some enhanced items or a couple legendaries, albeit an enhanced legendary on top of all that as a possibility, you will struggle to kill him. If you do take down this raid boss of a zombie Frankenstein's monster, he'll just come back alive and then smash your objectives in, so he's always a worthwhile pick. Pocket is another great choice. Of course, not only inherently is Affliction going to be useful in a game mode like Street Brawl, with close groupings and multiple team fights back to back, especially where you can prioritize CD reduction, or even just flat out getting Refresher or Lightning Scroll on his ultimate. Again, if they're enhanced, it's even bloody better. Pocket's kit innately is incredibly powerful in a game mode like Street Brawl. It's got lots of built-in sustainability, it's got lots of built-in wave clear, and additionally movement on top of that. Another top pick for me would have to be 7. This one really goes down to, again, the power of the ultimate. Defending and pushing are 2 of the core mechanics of Street Brawl that you need to master, knowing when to cut your losses and back up. 7 is brilliant at both of these. If you're pushing to try and dive an objective, him throwing out that ultimate takes all the heat immediately onto the 7 and buys you a chance to complete your mission of destroying the objective. Whereas if you're defending, throwing up a defensive ult with 1 or 2 stuns, boy oh boy will it buy you time. Another great pick is McGinnis. Maggie McGinnis, again, has such a well-rounded kit for Street Brawl. arguably one of the best in terms of support and attack. She has the healing potential of throwing out those multiple scepters to keep her teammates tanked up, especially if you get Echo Shard. You are going to be a real pain in the ass, and people will need to take you down to stop all of that survivability and sustainability you can give to your team. On top of this, Wall is massively undervalued in terms of its sheer mechanical power in Brawl. Cutting off waves or buying time from blocking the oncoming wave can win you games, and her ultimate, in the current state of Deadlock, if you don't know, is really powerful. It builds like crazy in Street Brawl as well with a couple items, so make sure you are investing into that heal, investing into Wall, and obliterating everyone with her barrage. I'd also say that Warden is a fantastic choice. Again, so much survivability. Very tanky, with an ultimate and a kit that favors up-close engagements in teamfights. You pick Warden, you build ult, you make sure you've got speed and tons of resistance, stack those bad boys like you're a vitamin gummy eating healthy boy, and then run in and obliterate everyone with the biggest ult you've ever seen. It doesn't matter what they throw at you, Warden will just keep on trucking forward. I think he's a brilliant choice for Street Brawl purely because of that level of oppressive aggression that you can throw out on pushes, but the fact that people will be terrified if they all group up and can't take down a Warden that's slamming them to bits with his ultimate and throwing out flask after flask, yeah, they're going to give up and probably not commit to taking down your objective. Most importantly though, the thing to be aware of is that in Street Brawl, taking down the objective is what matters most. The biggest piece of advice I can give you is gather a bunch of friends so communication is easier, focus on instantly diving on the troops, cleaning those waves as quickly as possible, and just getting down the objectives. If you see a chance where no one is close enough to defend, even if they're low HP and you could get another kill, another stat, don't worry about it. Dive on the objective, shut it down, and win the round. Especially on the early rounds up against Guardians, you want to snowball and build that momentum as much as possible. Hell, Street Brawl's a pretty high-octane game mode, so frustrating your opponent with a quick round win could mean the difference in them not quite reading their item choices as well, and you propelling yourself to another victory. At the end of the day though, Yoshi has confirmed there is no elo on the cards in this game mode, so it's all for fun. And if this video has been fun and enjoyable for you, why not subscribe to Dead Air? You can even join our members program and support me and Daisy making Deadlock videos like this. I hope you enjoyed this all-inclusive guide about everything you need to know about Street Brawl, and I hope to see you soon.